Hi, I'm Mad. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about spring releases. And I am taking spring as being March, April, and May. So I'm talking about March, April, and May releases. I mostly read fantasy, horror, sci-fi. There's a little bit of romance in there. There's a little bit of something else. This is also not a comprehensive list of every release that is happening during those 3 months because we would be here until spring was over. These are the ones that I'm interested in, that I'm aware of. March may also be one of the most stacked months for book releases that I've experienced in a while. On March 4th, there's 3 books that I'm interested in. The first book is The River Has Roots by Amal El-Mohtar. This is her solo debut. It's a story about sisters, I'm pretty sure, and it's relatively short. And I've heard that the prose is just as beautiful as This Is How You Lose the Time War. I have the arc for it, but I haven't gotten to yet. I am so excited though. Oathbound by Tracy Dion, I cannot wait for. I still need to read Bloodmarked, but I have read Legendborn. This is a Southern Gothic, dark academia, Arthurian retelling where our girl Bree is Arthur. I'm so excited for it. I know that everyone loves Legendborn and everyone is obsessed with Bloodmarked, and I can't wait for Oathbound. The last book is The Unworthy by Augustina Bazterrica, who also wrote Tender is the Flesh. This is the story of a nun that is in this very cloistered, nunnery, what's it called? Convent? And it's also kind of the end of the world times, and a newcomer comes in and totally changes her life, basically. I liked it, not as much as I liked Tender is the Flesh, but it was like a solid 4-star book for me. It's extremely bleak, and it's sapphic. Also on March 4th is The Divine Flesh by Drew Huff. This is about a woman who is also possessed by this entity that is obsessed with her ex-husband, and then her ex-husband gets in trouble, and they're both like, fuck, well, I guess we gotta deal with this now. And it just sounds fun and body horror. It was comped to Jennifer's Body. I have the arc for this too, and I have not gotten to it yet, but we're working on it. The Dream Hotel is one of my most anticipated releases. This is by Layla Lalami, and this is about a woman who comes back from a work trip and then gets immediately arrested because the government branch that monitors people's dreams has determined that she is a danger to her husband, and then she gets stuck in this place where they continue to monitor your dreams, and she's stuck with all of these other people that are in the relatively same situation that she's also in. And it's the sci-fi that's not like a space opera, but our world, but worse, I guess. Black Mirror type of sci-fi. And I think that it sounds so good. On March 11th, The Witch Who Trades with Death by C.M. Alongi gets released. This is a dark romantasy about a witch who was forced to be a concubine to the emperor, gets free, but her troubles are far from over, and I think this cover is so pretty. A Curse Carved in Bone by Daniel L. Jensen releases. This is the second book in the duology, the first being A Fate Inked in Blood, which I gave 4 stars. It was kind of a candy romantasy, not a lot of thoughts, pretty predictable plot, but I enjoyed it. It is Nordic inspired. There are people with powers, and I will be checking it out, maybe not immediately though. Malinali by Veronica Chapa is an imaginative retelling of the triumphs and sorrows of one of the most controversial and misunderstood women in Mexico's history and mythology. Perfect for fans of Silvia Moreno Garcia's Gods of Jade and Shadow and Zoraida Cordova's Inheritance of Orquídea Divina. Neither of which I've read, but both of which are on my TBR, so I'm assuming I'm gonna like this too. Rose of Jericho by Alex Grecian. I have not read from this author before, but they regularly get recommended alongside books that I really like, so I'm interested. This is a supernatural horror where ghosts and ghouls are the least of a witch's problems in 19th century New England. I also love a witch story, so I am down. On March 25th, When the Moon Hit Your Eye by John Scalzi comes out, and this is a sci-fi that begs the question, what if the moon turned into cheese? What would happen? I think that this is going to be silly and fun. I'm not read from John Scalzi, but I think he's like relatively acclaimed fantasy / sci-fi writer, so I'm definitely interested in Moon Cheese. Also on March 25th, Blood on Her Tongue by Johanna Van Veen comes out, and I just got approved for the NetGalley arc. You can all clap later. But I'm very excited for this. This is about 2 sisters, one of whom is being seen as crazy, is on the verge of being thrust into an insane asylum, and the other sister is like, no, she's just possessed. It's all good. I'll prove it. And their story. I think that we are seeing a lot of like gothic Victorian horror, and I'm kind of down for it. It's very vibey. March 25th, Space Brooms by A.G. Rodriguez comes out. This is about Johnny, who is a janitor, otherwise known as a space broom, and spends his days elbow deep in alien excrement. Ew. Mourning a life of fortune that he originally set out to find. But his luck turns around when he stumbles across a small data chit containing deeply confidential and highly coveted information. Johnny then sets off to Earth's moon, Luna, in an effort to sell it to the Obina crime syndicate. But as word spreads of Johnny's discovery, the solar system's most nefarious creatures are soon on his tail. With help from his augmented roommate, a pair of smugglers, and a mysterious and beautiful stranger, Johnny takes on assassins and mobsters as he ventures towards the biggest payout of his life. It's giving Becky Chambers, but maybe a little bit darker, and I'm super into it. We are finally on to April. Huzzah. On April 1st, we have Faithbreaker, which is the conclusion to the Godkiller trilogy by Hannah Cannon, I think is her name. I've not read this, but I love the covers, and Godkiller is such an incredible book one title that I must check it out eventually. Drop of Corruption by Robert Jackson Bennett is the next book in the Din and Ava kind of fantastical murder mystery series that he has going on. The first book was The Tainted Cup, which I did not love. It was a 3-star. I love his Founders trilogy though, so I will be trying again. Gifted and Talented by Olivia Blake. I still have not read from Olivia Blake, but this is compared to Succession / Gifted Kid Burnout. It's about this very rich family that is just, they're dealing with it, and I don't know, I'm kind of interested. I don't know that it's totally my vibe, but if it's anything maybe like Jade City, like fantastical crime family, I'm in. Freak's Law by Jane Flett. I just really like the cover of this, so we're going to find out what it's about together. It's the summer of 97, and the repressed Scottish town of Pitlaw is itching for change. Enter the Freak's Law, a traveling fun fair populated by deviant queers, a contortionist witch, the most powerful fortune teller, and other architects of mayhem. It doesn't take long for the Freak's Law folk to infiltrate Pitlaw's gray world, where the town's teenagers, none more so than Ruth and Derek, are seduced by neon charms and the possibility of escape. But beneath it all, these newcomers are harboring a darker revenge, and as tensions reach fever pitch between stoic locals and the dazzling intruders, violence that's been simmering for centuries is about to be unleashed. That actually sounds great. I have not read enough like horror or horror adjacent books that are also set at like a carnival situation, and that sounds great for me. Don't Sleep with the Dead by Nevo, and this is a standalone novella that I do think relates to some of her other books, and this is a queer Great Gatsby retelling. I'm pretty sure The Great Gatsby just recently went into like the free use archive, so I think we're going to be seeing more of like Great Gatsby retellings, and I cannot say that I cared for the original Great Gatsby, but I am down for a queer retelling of it. Cold Eternity by S.A. Barnes. I've still not read from S.A. Barnes, but this is like medical sci-fi horror, and that sounds awful in the best way. It sounds very terrifying to me. It sounds like horror that will be effective for me. One of my most anticipated releases of this year, it is a predicted 5-star read for me, which is kind of crazy to say, is Sky Daddy by Kate Volk. And this is about a woman who is obsessed with planes, sexually obsessed with planes, wants to die in a plane crash to achieve with a plane. And I am just so excited for it. Firebird by Juliet Cross. This is the first book in the Fire That Binds series. This is House of the Dragon meets From Blood and Ash in the epic scorching dark romantasy. A conqueror captivated, a witch prophesies to save them all. A world where dragons rule Rome. Dragons in Rome. I don't know how that's going to work, but it's on my list. Color me intrigued. The Cut by C.J. Dotson, which apparently has not gotten very good initial ratings on Goodreads. This is a chilling supernatural horror set in a mysterious hotel and about a woman fleeing her abusive ex. I'm not as stoked about it because a lot of the complaints of the lower ratings say it's slow, and I'm not super into slow horror. I kind of need it to punch me in the face immediately. and it doesn't sound like this is that kind of book. Senseless by Ronald Malfi. I've still not read from them, but maybe this will be the one. It has very good initial ratings so far. It has 71 ratings, and it has a 4.27. Ooh, this sounds really good. Page-turning, supernaturally tinged LA puzzle box thriller. Zodiac with the Tainted Khan, which is the second book in the Soulbound saga by Taran Matharu. I haven't read the first one yet, but I do have it. I'm pretty sure, the first book is Dragon Rider, so I'm assuming there's dragons. It's about a guy who is growing into his magic and into being a warrior, fending off attacks both without and within, and also continuing to bond with his dragon. I don't know, it sounds good. I remember the first one being recommended by Bailey Chadwick, and I love Bailey Chadwick. Eat the Ones You Love has such a stunning cover. This is like Little Shop of Horrors. It's about, I think the plant is Irish. I'm just so excited for this. I am so devastated that I was denied the ARC for this. However, I have pre-ordered it, and this is one that I do want to pick up immediately. Yeah, this is my most anticipated horror release, and that's When the Wolf Comes Home by Nat Cassidy. I'm so beyond excited for another Nat Cassidy. I have loved all of his books so far, and I don't even know what it's about. It doesn't matter what it's about. I'm gonna love it because it's written by Nat Cassidy. The Staircase in the Woods by Chuck Wendig. I just really liked this cover. It's about a group of friends that investigate a mystery of a strange staircase in the woods. They find it during a camping trip. One friend walks up and never comes back down. I don't know how great that sounds, but I really like the cover, and I still haven't read from Chuck Wendig yet. Polybius by Colin Armstrong. This is Stranger Things meets The Walking Dead in a shivery novel based on terrifying urban legend about a small seaside town descending into chaos when an unusual video game is unveiled at the local arcade. I like the cover. I like that it's compared to Stranger Things. I'm into it. This is such a great year for horror so far. Finally, in April, we have Bat Eater and Other Names for Corzang. This is about a crime scene cleaner who's having racial slurs thrown at her, and then supernatural type of things start happening. Everyone that I know that's read it so far has really liked it. The different covers that I've seen, stunning. I need to get to it. We've hit May! Woo! On May 6th, Overgrowth by Mira Grant comes out, and I've already read this one. I have loved it. This is not my favorite Mira Grant, but it's a really high 4.5 star for me. This is about a woman who, from the time she was 3, was like, hey, I'm an alien. They're going to come back for me. And no one believes her because she started saying this at 3. And then they come back for her when she's like 35. And it's a major problem. I enjoyed the levity that happened during the end of the world in this book. I would definitely recommend it. The Lord of Demons by Evan Winters is also supposed to come out. I have not started The Rage of Dragons yet, but I'm hoping to do that soon. This is a grimdark military fantasy with, I'm assuming, dragons. On March 6th, The Butcher's Daughter by David Dimchuk and Corinne Leigh Clark comes out. This is the hitherto untold story of Mrs. Lovett, which is Sweeney Todd's partner in crime. I'm not clear if this is fiction or not. I think so. It's highly rated, too, so I'm very intrigued. Angie Kills a King by Evan Leakham is about an unlikely assassin that struggles to escape a legendary bounty hunter in this breakneck fantasy debut that will grab you by the throat. Perfect for fans of Joe Abercrombie, R.F. Kuang, and Christopher Buhlman. I'm impressed with a lot of the covers that are coming out. I think that people are really stepping up their game. Hopefully none of them are AI, because on AI covers. The Devils by Joe Abercrombie. The cover, I love everything about this. It sounds so good. It's about a monk who has to get the help of people who are not holy in order to, I think, achieve a holy goal. Immaculate Conception by Ling Ling Wang comes out on May 13th. This is by the author that wrote Natural Beauty, which is such an easy 5-star read for me last year. I enjoyed Immaculate Conception. It is about how AI in art affects artists, and also how technology can take away from our autonomy. Technology that this book primarily looks at is you can share your consciousness in order to offload grief to another person so that it doesn't totally ruin you. And the main focus is a very messy, toxic friendship, and I enjoyed it. The more that I think back on my time reading it, the more I am thinking that it's a 4.5 and not a 4-star. On May 13th, Incandescent by Emily Tesh comes out. This is Naomi Novik's Scholomance series meets plain bad heroines in the sapphic dark academia fantasy, and that sounds like all I need to know to want to read this. I'm very excited. The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. I still haven't read from her yet, but this does sound good. A gothic miscloaked tale of a prophetess who is forced beyond the safety of her cloister on an impossible quest to defeat the gods with the one knight whose future is beyond her sight. I am re-entering my romantasy era. I am finding more romantasy that I've been enjoying. It doesn't even necessarily have to be good or unique. I just have to have a good time, and I'm down. Esperance by Adam Oyebanji is a whip-smart thriller in the vein of Blake Crouch, Andy Weir, and Neil Stephenson. Esperance plumbs the depths of seemingly impossible crime rooted in racism, intergenerational trauma, and an inhuman concept of justice. I'm sold. And it has a bug on the front of it that I think freaks me out a little bit. Vanishing World by Sayaka Murata comes out April 15th. And this is about a world where babies are not conceived naturally. People just don't have sex anymore. But this little girl was conceived naturally. And she's just kind of like, what the heck? I am now an adult and also would like to have sex. So they move into this kind of experimental commune. And I don't know. That cover is a bunch of those little plastic babies and it really got me. And I have not read from Sayaka Murata yet, but I think all of their books are on my list. And finally on May 20th, we have The Starving Saints by Caitlin Starling, which when I finished it in January, I was like, oh, this is going to be my top 10 of the year. And so far that's true. It's only mid-February, but I loved this. It is about 3 people in a castle. One of them is a nun, one of them is a guardsman, and one of them is a servant. And they develop this super messy sapphic relationship. We get crumbs of a romance. It's not super there, but these saints also come to save their town, their village, but there's something off about their saints. They're not the saints that they think they are. And there is cannibalism, there's rot horror. It's really, really good. I love this. This was such an easy 6-star read for me. That was so much talking. This is going to be a lot of editing for me. Thank you so much for being here. If you are still here, leave me a prayer hand emoji for The Starving Saints, and I'll see you next time. Bye!